And a window air conditioning unit costs between $150 and $500 to buy. Then it costs you another $30 to $60 every single month in electricity to run it. That's up to $700 in year one alone for a machine that pushes refrigerant through a compressor using one, and 200 watts of power every hour all summer long. Your box fan sitting in that same room uses 50 watts. That is a 96% difference in energy consumption for what is essentially the same goal, moving cooled air across your body. And what I'm about to show you costs less than $2 and turns that fan you already own into a localized cooling system that drops the air temperature hitting your skin by 10 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit in under 3 minutes. No unit to install. Then no electricity bill spike, no refrigerant, just 2 bottles and a freezer. But before I show you the setup, you need to understand how we got tricked in the first place. Because this isn't a coincidence. This is design. And here's a short history of how an entire country forgot that cold air is just physics. Mechanical air conditioning was invented in 1902 by Willis Carrier. For the first several decades, it was an industrial tool. Factories, movie theaters, hospitals. The average home didn't have it. People used cross-ventilation, wet sheets hung in doorways, sleeping porches, and fans positioned near cold water. They understood intuitively that moving air across a cold surface drops the temperature of that air. That knowledge was universal. Then, in the 1950s and 60s, as post-war manufacturing boomed, the HVAC industry did something brilliant. They packaged that physics inside a machine, added a compressor, added refrigerant, and sold the entire system as the only credible way to stay cool. They didn't invent a new mechanism. They took evaporative heat exchange, which your body does naturally when you sweat, and they put it behind a brand name and a monthly electricity bill. The advertising that followed trained an entire generation to believe that comfort required a compressor. That if you weren't running a machine with a dedicated electrical circuit, you weren't actually cooling down. That a fan alone meant you were just moving hot air around. That's not thermodynamics. That's conditioning. The actual physics of cooling your body requires exactly 2 things. A surface colder than the surrounding air, an airflow forced across that surface toward you. That's it. No compressor, no refrigerant, no $500 unit. 2 frozen water bottles and a fan you already own. Here's everything you need and why each piece works. The first thing is a standard box fan or pedestal fan, whatever you already own. A box fan is ideal because it moves air in a straight horizontal line, which means 100% of the airflow passes across the surface you place in front of it. A pedestal fan works just as well. You can find a basic 20-inch box fan at Walmart for around $20 if you don't already own one. The brand doesn't matter. The mechanism does. The second thing is 2 2-liter plastic bottles filled with water and frozen solid. A 2-liter bottle of plain water costs nothing if you already have tap water and a freezer. Fill each bottle to about 80% capacity, not full. And water expands when it freezes by about 9% in volume. An overfilled bottle cracks. 80% gives it room. Put them in the freezer for a minimum of 8 hours. 12 is better. Now here's the science that makes this work, and it's the part the HVAC industry doesn't want explained in plain language. When 1 kilogram of ice melts, it absorbs 333 kilojoules of energy from the surrounding environment, with no temperature change during that entire process. That energy comes directly from the warm air passing over the bottle. The air surrenders its heat into the phase change and exits colder on the other side. This is called latent heat absorption, and it means ice requires 80 times more energy to change from solid to liquid than warm water requires to rise by 1 degree Celsius. That energy is actively stolen from the air passing over it. Your fan is the delivery mechanism. It pushes warm room air into the cold surface, forces the heat transfer, and delivers the cooled air directly to your body. The third optional item is 1 tablespoon of table salt per bottle before freezing. Adding salt lowers the freezing point of water through a process called freezing point depression. A saltwater solution freezes at a lower temperature than plain water, which means it stays colder longer before fully melting. This extends your cooling window without any additional cost. Salt costs essentially nothing. Any table salt works. Total material cost, $0 if you own a fan and a freezer. Under $25 if you're buying the fan for the first time. Here is the exact setup. The positioning is everything. Get this wrong and you cut the cooling effect in half film, 2 2-liter bottles to 80% with cold tap water. Add 1 tablespoon of table salt to each. Shake until dissolved. Then cap them tightly and place them upright in the freezer for at least 8 hours. If you're starting tonight, your system is ready tomorrow morning. When they're frozen solid, take them out. They'll begin forming condensation immediately. That's fine. Then place a small towel or tray underneath your setup to catch the drip. Now here is the insider rule that determines whether this works or doesn't. Placement in front of the fan, never behind it. Then positioning the ice behind the fan is the least effective setup possible. Minimal heat transfer occurs because air bypasses the cold surface without being forced across it. Position the bottles directly in front of the fan's blades, where the airstream physically collides with the cold surface, 6 to 12 inches in front of the fan's face, centered in the airflow path. Stand the two bottles upright, side by side, directly in the path of the fan's output. The air has to pass around and between the bottles before it reaches you. That contact point is where the heat exchange happens. Set the fan to medium speed. A higher fan speed pushes more air volume, but medium speed gives that air enough contact time with the cold surface to actually transfer heat before moving on. Too fast, and the air doesn't linger long enough on the cold surface. Medium is the sweet spot. For an even stronger effect, drape a single layer of damp cloth. A thin kitchen towel works loosely over both bottles. A damp cloth over frozen bottles adds a second cooling layer through evaporation, as water evaporating from the cloth surface pulls additional heat out of the air moving through it. This is essentially a miniature swamp cooler effect, stacked on top of the conduction cooling. Two mechanisms working simultaneously. Position yourself within 3 to 5 feet of the setup. The cooling effect is localized. This is personal cooling, not whole room cooling, and that is exactly what makes it efficient. 2 large frozen bottles provide steady cooling for 45 to 90 minutes per cycle. Keep a second set of bottles rotating in the freezer and you have continuous coverage all day. The results are immediate. You'll feel the temperature difference on your skin within the first 60 seconds. You might be wondering, is this actually comparable to real air conditioning, or is it just a placebo that makes you think you're cooler? Here's what the U.S. Department of Energy says directly: evaporative cooling, which is the exact mechanism at work in this setup, is a legitimate recommended cooling method. The U.S. The Department of Energy recommends evaporative cooling as a low-effort way to stay comfortable in hot weather. A standard fan uses only 50 to 100 watts. A central AC unit consumes 3,000 to 5,000 watts. That is a 10 to 100 times difference in energy consumption. And here is what commercial air conditioning actually does to your body and your home that most people never consider. AC systems dry the air aggressively. They drop humidity so far that many people wake up with dry sinuses, irritated eyes, and cracked lips every single morning in summer. The machine that's supposed to make you comfortable creates its own set of physical problems that then get solved with humidifiers, eye drops, and nasal sprays, all of which cost more money. The ice bottle fan setup adds slight moisture to the air as the ice melts, which in dry summer conditions is an actual benefit. Your skin stays hydrated, your sinuses don't dry out. There are no dry eyes, no sore throat in the morning, and just cooler air and a fan you already own. And on the electricity math, running a ceiling fan continuously for an entire summer costs less than running a portable air conditioner for 2 days. This setup doesn't change that equation. Your fan's electricity cost stays at pennies per day, your freezer is already running, the bottles cost nothing to cycle. Let's look at the full number one more time. The global air conditioning market is worth over $130 billion annually. And a typical window AC unit running 8 hours a day costs $20 to $35 per month in electricity alone. Over a 4-month summer, that's up to $140 in electricity on top of the $300 unit you already bought. Every single year, 2 2-liter bottles of salt water, then frozen overnight, 0, a fan you already own, electricity to run that fan all day, roughly $1.50 a month, a $300 air conditioning unit that locks you into $140 a summer in electricity costs forever is not just a purchase. It's a subscription you signed without reading the terms. The physics of cooling your body has not changed. What changed is that the HVAC industry built a machine around that physics, and convinced an entire generation that the machine was the only solution, and collected the bill every month since 1950. 2 frozen bottles placed correctly in front of a fan you already own delivers real, measurable, physics-backed cooling. The Department of Energy agrees, the thermodynamics agree, and your electricity bill will agree next month. If this saves you money, hit the like button. It tells the algorithm to show this video to other people paying $140 a summer for something 2 bottles of salt water and a freezer can replace. And if you want the next household markup exposed, 300's in, the video on your screen right now shows you exactly that. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one.